Today on This Week in Startups, Gil Elbaz is here. He's the founder of Factual, and you might also remember Applied Semantics, which became Adsense, is in the studio, and we'll take your startup questions on Ask Jason. And our very own Mike Baracco will be here to do the news, all that, and Tyler's new shirt right now on This Week in Startups.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah. Money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.
Yes, welcome to episode number 106 there. We are almost to 1,000. It feels like we're going to wind up, we're going to have a 500th episode, then a 1,000th episode. The train just keeps moving here at thisweekend.com. And boy, do we have a great show today. I've been waiting to have this guest on the program because he's done some amazing things, and I'll introduce Gil in just a moment. The Twist bag giveaway is a huge hit. As you know, we made bags, and they're just beautiful, and they're unlike Tyler's shirts, very subtle. And as you can see by the bag on the monitor there, instead of putting it like in big orange letters, which like basically my mom, Tyler, and I would be the only people who would wear it, and the super fans, we said, let's do this really subtle, just engrave it. So if you don't want to be like a walking billboard, you don't have to be, but if somebody gets up close, they realize, hey, you're part of the Twist family. And so we're going to give one of these away to somebody who tweets during the show. Thank you to the sponsors, and we'll have more on that later. Launch conference is on fire. I'm going to announce the first two partners, the sponsors. We have 6 partners, sponsors. So the event is basically, we're going to be in the black. It's good. I was over the vacation, Tyler, I was a little bit, am I going to lose 10 dimes, 50 dimes, 100 dimes? I thought I was going to lose money on it, but it looks like, hey, we're going to make it. And we have picked 9 or 10 of the 40. The number of applications is incredible, well over 300, which means we'll get to 500 applications. And if you did apply to the launch conference, you will be hearing from us. The early acceptance people will hear from us next week, I think. And I'm setting up demos all next week and the week after. And then later people will hear about us, hear from us in the end of January. If you would like to come to the launch conference, simply go to launch.is and buy a ticket. And subscribe to our YouTube channel, you know that. And one thing that's really helping with the launch conference, and you know this to be true, Tyler, since you've helped me on 3 TechCrunch 50s, and you were actually responsible for setting up a lot of these calls in the early days, is GoToMeeting by Citrix. Yesterday, in fact, Tyler and I and Kroot were on a call, and we got a simple URL. We click the URL, boom, we're in the GoToMeeting. They show us the product. We get 5 minutes into the product, and you know what I said? Approved. You're in the launch conference. Congratulations, you got one of the 40 slots. A lot of other times, people send me, download this, install this, and you can never get into the demo. Right. Anytime it's GoToMeeting, it's flawless. They send you a link, and it works. Meetings are always hard to start, and your reputation is on the line. That's true. I didn't write that. That's copy from the ad agency, but that is how I look at it. In fact, when people send me something that doesn't work, whether it's a demo, it reflects on them. It's just like, oh, can you please be professional? Right. And GoToMeeting is professional. Join meetings in seconds with no technical headaches. That's really what we're talking about. Hold as many meetings as you want for one low rate. They're not price gouging. That's a nice thing. And free voice over IP and phone conferencing, which, I'll be honest, my preference is to use my standard phone system go in, because I like the speakerphone we have better than using the computer. Right. But if you want to, you can just do it all VoIP, and they support that. GoToMeeting, I love you guys, and everybody should sign up right now at gotomeeting.com for a free 30-day trial. Use the promo code START, and thank you to GoToMeeting for supporting independent media like This Week in Startups. We could not do it without you. Oh God, I love GoToMeeting.
It's like the only solution you can use where you just send a little short URL.
And boom.
Like in a chat room or like right away.
And you know what? Like, I'm always in different browsers. Yep. You know, like this time, one machine I'm on Chrome, another machine I'm on Safari, then I'm using WebKit, then I'm using Firefox. I'm always, I got a bunch of different computers. I never have a problem. I'm just always boom right in.
Yeah.
Just, and never crashes. That's the other thing I find with some of the other Flash-based ones. Like there's a couple of startup companies that have Flash and some other stuff. It always crashes. I don't know. It's like, it just, I don't know. GoToMeeting, thank you so much for sponsoring the program. If you would like to thank GoToMeeting and get entered into a drawing to win this very bag, just say thank you to GoToMeeting for sponsoring This Week in Startups. Gil, I've been waiting to have you on the program for, I don't know, a year. You're based here in Santa Monica. I think Santa Monica. You're coming in Santa Monica?
Close. We're on Santa Monica Boulevard. We're in West LA.
West LA.
We're in Century City now.
Oh, okay. And you are probably responsible for one of the most successful companies in the history of the sort of Los Angeles tech scene, Applied Semantics, which became Adsense, and which is how Google makes 99% of their revenue today.
Close. We'll get into that. But,
Yeah.
But that's thank you.
I think that's correct. And I know they always give you, I talk to Google people, they always give you credit for creating that innovation. And boy, did that work out well for them. And now you're working on Factual, which is essentially some sort of open database for anybody to use through APIs. And I know my tech guys are crazy about it, and we're going to be implementing it here at Mahalo for some of our topic pages. Tell us, what is Factual?
Factual, like you said, it's an open database platform. The idea is that developers want to innovate, they want to build apps, and they want to build them quickly. And having to find a lawyer to sign contracts, to find data, and then having your IT people integrate that into your IT systems, that all takes time and money. And if you can just get the data you want, you can develop apps more quickly.
So I come to the site here and I go, entertainment, what do you have? And I see a very large database of movies, video games published by Sony. Where does this data come from? Is it from the crowd? Is it anonymous? Is it scraped from the web? How do you wind up getting these huge data sets? And then how do you maintain the integrity of those data sets?
Right. That's a great question. We don't think that there's one silver bullet. We use a lot of approaches to get data.
Yeah.
And crowdsourcing is a big part of our model. People can come in to the site and edit data like a Wikipedia. So some people call us a Wikipedia for data. We think it's a bigger model than just that. But but where we get a lot of our data from is partners who we work with. We give them data and they give us data back. I can give you some examples of that. And then finally, we have the capability of finding facts all over the web to validate, to augment our databases, and we can pump that right in and build even bigger databases that way.
And everything on the site is Creative Commons, or is it some open license? How does the licensing of this data work? Because, there was a time when I think people looked at databases as this proprietary thing, like I own this database, that's it. But now it seems like people have given up on this concept of, well, maybe an article is copyrighted, but the database isn't copyrighted, or maybe the people are just not enforcing it. What is the legality around using databases? I know there's some bad actors out there who scrape data and then resell it. I've been approached by that many times. I've actually been approached by people who say, if you want to do a scraping project, I have a series of bots that will go out and scrape 1,000 times every 10 days, and we'll put it back together for you, and nobody will ever know that you scraped IMDb or whatever. What's the legality around this? It seems very confusing to most startups.
It is confusing, and it's confusing because it's a new world. Open data is a fairly new concept. There have been some tremendous leaps forward. For example, there's a company that was acquired by Google recently. There was MetaWeb, that has
Freebase?
that has
MetaWeb,
popularized
Freebase,
free web.
Yeah.
So there's been some really interesting leaps forward, but there's still not a lot of agreement on what open data means, and we're part of, I think, education process of an emerging category. When you get to Factual, a lot of the data is Creative Commons. Not all of it. We're still trying to work through these business models. Some of our highest valued databases we will make available very aggressively to partners that we trust, so that they email us, we talk to them, and we let them download the data. But we're a little bit worried about this free rider problem, so we're just asking them to help us and contribute data back.
So if Mahalo wanted, you have a lot of local data. If I want to make Mahalo local, I ask you, can I have the local data? And you say, yeah, sure, Jason, you can have the local data, but if somebody corrects the phone number of this restaurant or the hours, you have to reciprocate and give it back?
That's right. So it's a little bit like an open source model,
Yeah.
where if you make any
Share and
changes,
share alike.
Share alike, right? The thing is, with data, it's a little harder to manage that. So we have to do that through our terms of service, which say that As long as you're not trying to compete with us, you download the data, you can do just about whatever you want with it.
As long as I'm not reselling it.
You're not reselling it, and if you're willing to share back by enabling crowdsourcing on your site and you're sharing the edits back with us, we're generally very aggressive about making these data.
What is the technological way in which the data is shared back? Do we just send you an updated file every month, every week? Do we do it in real time to your API? Do you have like an API published on how to do that? Or are you figuring that out right now?
No, it's pretty simple.
Right.
We have a lot of databases have read APIs. We also have a write API, so you can just pump data right back. As soon as an edit comes in, you call an API through a simple RESTful call. The data comes back to us, and now it's available to us and then therefore to all the other users. So like an open source project, everybody's sharing the fruit of the community that's maintaining it, and you get to save a lot on cost. You get the support costs when you are using our data instead of trying to maintain it yourself is obviously a lot lower.
Yeah, a lot lower. Why would somebody pick you guys over, say, using the API of Yahoo Local or Google Local? What's the pros and cons to each of those?
Well, one is terms of service.
I would suspect that. Yeah.
We're willing to let people do a lot of different things with this data. It's very flexible. Also, the databases, you can see if you go to the topics, the /local page from the homepage, that we have data from a lot of countries, and it's growing rapidly. And we're very transparent about it. The ways that you can browse our data is really powerful. You can, like a huge spreadsheet, you can just scroll all the way through it. You can just see everything right there.
Right.
And it's getting better all the time. Yeah. We're continuously refreshing this data. So you click on one of the countries.
I see. Let me go. I just clicked on the U.S.
Okay.
And boy, look at that. Right. So you just dumped into essentially what looks like a Google spreadsheet or a web-based spreadsheet.
Right.
Here's everything, and so an end user can actually just browse it.
You can browse it, and you can do a quick search on. You could click on the name field and see how many Starbucks we have. We're not hiding anything, so we're very transparent about what data we have.
Right. So I can just here find Starbucks.
Find, right, Starbucks. See how it goes.
Right. So you purposely put it in this format so that, one, it's all transparent, the unique ID is right there, it's easy for people to see what the changes are, and this doesn't feel competitive with the people you're giving the data to. Whereas if I take the data from Google, and we had the founder of HotPod and who's running Google Local now, big beef going on right now between Yelp and Google as to, is Google pushing down the Yelp search results? And, if you partner with a Google or a Yahoo for local data, in some ways you're partnering with your competitor. So if you have to share back to them, you never own it, and you're basically reinforcing their position. If I do it with you, I'm reinforcing theoretically everybody's position, which would be like everybody getting a nuclear warhead. If anybody creates one, therefore it negates it.
Right. Thank you so much for articulating our business model so well. We want to be the Switzerland of data. And so it is important that we're not competing with our customers, that we're not trying to build an entire experience around consuming this data. There's photos, there's community, there's a lot of things that we're not doing because that's not what we specialize in.
You're not going to be a destination.
No.
I mean, I can only think 0.1% of the population would ever want to come to this interface to find the phone number for Starbucks and narrow it down by putting in Santa Monica. Although I could see somebody who's doing a report on Santa Monica for school, using this tool, but that would be like such a fringe case. There's no money to be made there.
Right.
How do you guys make money?
Well, first of all...
Well, you raise a lot of venture capital, so that means you don't have to.
Don't get it that way.
Yeah, no, I know.
Now the bar is higher than ever for the return, which of course we're focused on.
Yeah, I mean, it was $25 million round. Andreessen Horowitz and Index Ventures, Danny Reimer over in the UK. Is Danny the partner on it, or?
He's on our board.
He joined the board.
He did.
Why did you pick Index and Danny?
Well, I'm sure you're aware of both of them. They're both tremendous people. I knew Danny first. Got introduced to him a while back, and was familiar with another company that he's worked with. He's a visionary, and he was one of the early people that spotted this open source emerging market, and we think that there's a parallel there: open source, open data. There's a lot of parallels, and we think there's a lot of learning.
And Andreessen Horowitz, obviously brand new firm. Ben Horowitz and Mark Andreessen, two Class A guys.
Yeah, I mean, Ben, an amazing guy who knows how to execute, an operator,
Yeah.
tremendous experience. There's a lot that we're going to learn from him.
Yeah, and who's more visionary than Mark Andreessen? I mean, but he's very busy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not joining the board.
He's not joining the board. It's Ben.
Right.
Mark is very busy, but we're
He's so
delighted.
busy.
We're delighted that he wants to. I mean, if
Yeah.
we get some of his time, it'll be
I
a
think
big win.
if you get to go to lunch with him once or twice a year and just talk, visionary stuff, that's probably. I remember one time I asked Mark to join the board of Weblogs Inc. when he was an angel investor, and he said, "I don't join boards and I don't do CEO roles. It's just too much work.
Yeah.
It's just too hard." And so you raised $25 million. That's a B round, I take it, or
It's an A round.
it's your A round. Oh, because you funded the company yourself.
I did for a period of time, so
Yeah.
it did help us get by. Yeah.
Yeah. So in reality, it's like a B round, but technically an A. Why so much?
Well, it's a big vision. We think that the next decade, and we're really happy that our investors not just believe in this vision, but really supported us as we were trying to craft a bar for what we can achieve in the next 10 years. We think that really structured data, being able to build management platforms that not just provide you the software to take advantage of it, but actually can improve upon it and house it and take an Oracle. Oracle, it's an amazing company, but they don't actually provide any knowledge within their databases.
Right.
So imagine a database provider that has been able to capture a significant percentage of the world's knowledge and packages that in with the database software. And that's the kind of market that we envision. Are we there in 2011 or 12? No, but there's an exciting roadmap for us.
What database technology are you using currently? Is it just standard MySQL stuff for today? And are you saying you're going to build your own software technology?
We actually built our a parallel NoSQL-like backend technology.
Like a Cassandra or Hadoop
like
or
that.
something?
We built something like that.
Did you base it on one of those, or did you just build it from scratch?
No, we started working on it 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So we built it from scratch.
Oh,
we
boy.
also use Postgres because of
Yeah.
the indexing that's
Sure.
available and some of the specialized features like the geo-indexing. We're not necessarily committed. We're actually using a number of different databases. We're looking at Mongo and some of the other NoSQL
Yeah.
alternatives. We're not wedded to one. It's really when you're trying to build a stack and you're trying to build something that works at scale. You look at everything that's available.
Are your customers generally hitting an API to pull the data, or are they downloading the entire data set and then somehow keeping it in sync?
It's both.
Yeah.
We're hearing interest in both. Using our API on a transactional basis is super easy because it means you don't have to maintain anything yourself at all.
Right.
On the other hand, there are customers that want to replicate the data and do really
Yeah.
specialized things with it. So it's both.
Data replication is kind of a hard problem right now. It seems like we use Cassandra here at Mahalo a lot. Just starting to be able to do replication between data centers and all this kind of stuff, keeping it in sync. It's always been a huge problem for MySQL to do properly at web scale with so many transactions going on. What's the state of synchronization right now? Is it ready? Is it working? Or do you really need to use like the big iron Oracle nonsense to get that done?
I don't know, there's a lot of ways to attack this problem,
Yeah.
and I think that we're looking right now at migrating, replicating, and syncing our data with a lot of the large cloud infrastructure providers, EC2 and Rackspace, and so we think that we can simplify the problem if we're replicating our data into multiple places. That doesn't change the fact that you have proprietary data that you're going to have to replicate and deal with.
Yeah. Ton of work.
Yeah.
When you raise, last question on the financing, I know it makes you uncomfortable talking about all this money or whatever, but some people it does. I don't know, some entrepreneurs, I don't want to talk about it. When you raise that much money, you said the benchmark is kind of high. Explain what that means to the entrepreneurs because we have a lot of young entrepreneurs watching. They've never even raised venture capital. What's the decision making for a guy like you who's sort of already can fund his company, to then say, I'm going to swing for the fences,
Right.
pull down a big round. That round's going to last you 3 years, 4 years, whatever. It may reach profitability for
Right.
all I know, but it's quite possible. Why do a big round like that? Is it just because the market is hot, or you have the ability to? Is that the reason?
Well, in general, you asked the general question
Yeah.
of what does it mean that the bar is raised when you're raising a large round. So first of all, absolutely, you're raising a large round. You're probably doing it at a higher valuation.
Yeah.
You can justify a higher valuation if you're raising a large round because the VCs are coming into this thinking in terms of what percentage equity they can get for this round.
And typically, a round, they're trying to get a third, 25%, something like
Yeah,
that.
in that range.
Yeah.
And if you can tell the right story of why you need this money in order to grow, they're going to have to accept a higher valuation, because
Right.
I don't think any VC is looking to take 80% of your company for a $25 million round.
Right. That would be, and why would that be so wrong? For the sort of people who are newbies in the audience.
Right. Well, for one, the VCs are looking for entrepreneurs that are inspired to build and create something,
Yeah.
and it is based on wanting to own and build a vision.
Right.
And so they really want people to be absolutely motivated, and
Yeah.
they want a majority, at least for a period of time, they want the majority shareholders to be the founder and employees.
Right. It's just demotivating
Right.
if then you're working for the VCs.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was like my dad used to tell me when he owned a bar that he wasn't his own boss. His boss was the landlord. Because
Right.
basically
Right.
2/3 of whatever they made every month went to the
Right.
landlord.
Absolutely. So
And so what's the size of the company right now? You guys, 50 people, 100 people? How many people do you need to execute the vision?
we're in the 30s. We
Yeah.
have our LA office here in Century City. We just moved into a big new office, so we have room for expansion.
Great.
We also have an engineering office in Shanghai.
Oh, wow.
We're looking at starting to hire. We've hired our first employee in the Silicon Valley.
Wow.
To have a presence there. So we'll be growing quickly.
Why
in
Shanghai?
2011.
Did you have some previous experience there, or one of the people, or were there just
Right.
great developers? I mean,
Right.
usually there's a story behind it.
It was a little bit opportunistic that
Yeah.
our lead developer, on the client side, Jeff Su, needed to go back to Shanghai for a period of time. And he said, while I'm there, why don't I build a team? I can do this. And he did a terrific job, and it's working out really well for us. And he stayed there quite a while, so he really instituted our factual culture back in Shanghai.
Does that mean, so is the reason to do it there because you want access to the Chinese market eventually? Because obviously they're going to need this. A lot more data over there than here with 1 whatever billion people. Or is it because there's a cost savings, or is it because those developers bring something to the table that developers in the U.S. don't bring?
Right. It turned out to be a great place to recruit Ruby developers. We were doing our front end that you see here, this Ajax front end in Ruby.
Yeah, very elegant. Yeah.
So that was one. The second thing is it was a little opportunistic. It was just convenient because
Sure.
our lead developer was there. Also, we really like the fact now that in the night shift we effectively have our Shanghai team that are able to QA and keep working while we in the U.S. are sleeping. Not that we sleep all that much, but you know.
So basically you have 24-hour development cycle.
Right.
Yeah, how do you manage that?
It is complex. It requires a lot of communication.
Yeah.
We Skype and we IM. We actually we use our GoToMeeting to share presentations.
Absolutely,
And
GoToMeeting. What else would you use? Very good. So tell me about Applied Semantics. When did you start that, and what was the original vision there, and how did you wind up selling to Google, and when?
That was an exciting roller coaster that I'm so happy to look back and know that I was a part of. I was working. I went up with a lot of my peers from school up to the Silicon Valley. It was around '97 that I felt like it's time to go back to LA. That it's really the place where people can think about very creative ideas.
Right.
And so it came back in '97, and by '98, with a classmate of mine, Adam Weissman, we started the company out of our house. It was really the garage kind of story.
Sure.
Out of a house in North Hollywood. And not North Hollywood, in Hollywood. It was on North Crescent Heights. It was in Hollywood. Close to Sunset Boulevard. It was fun in those days to walk down Sunset Boulevard.
Well, where else would you put a technology startup but Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles?
Yeah.
You mentioned LA, good for creativity. Maybe a little quixotic, different thinking than the Valley?
I think it kind of flips back and forth. I think in '97 was this time where maybe because of the Netscape IPO, and there was just so much attention to the VCs and VC money and what the standard thinking was, that it was a time where down here in LA, it was easier to find people that kind of believed in our vision, even though we had no support from VCs at all, because we were kind of new in this business. We were first-time entrepreneurs.
And so when do you wind up meeting the Google guys, and how does that all go down? What year was that?
I had known Sergey, even though I didn't go to Stanford. I pretended like I did. A lot of my friends from Caltech went to Stanford, and I hung around there, and so I just ended up being in a circle of friends, and he was there, and I got to know him. lost touch a little bit. Down here in LA, completely 100%, 120% insanely focused on the startup. I think it caught Google's attention when we struck these big partnerships with Overture. And we ended up in their disclosed as one of their top 10 distributors of ads through our various ad products, Adsense being one of them. So I think that got their attention, and they started talking to us.
And what year is this that they wind up buying it? And is this pre-IPO, post-IPO? How many people were at Google at the time?
So it was, the final acquisition was April of 2003. And
so Google's public, right?
They were not.
Oh, they were not.
They went public in August of 2004, I think.
04, yeah.
I think it was. They had about 1,000 people. We had 40 plus. It was, at the time, it was their largest acquisition.
Yeah.
Since, of course, they've done some massive ones.
And arguably, the most important acquisition they've ever made. YouTube would be the only one that anybody could say even compares to Applied Semantics in terms of the impact on the company.
Right. So it's complex. I'm not going to just go and just agree with you on that one. So first of all, just to correct what you said.
Wait.
So first of all, Adsense is responsible for billions of revenue, but it's far from 99%.
Okay.
A majority of the revenue is still AdWords, which are ads that appear on a Google property.
Okay. Fair enough.
Search-based ads.
Okay.
What Adsense did was bring search-based advertising out to the rest of the web.
Right. That was the innovation. So they had AdWords before that because they were showing it there.
Right.
What you did was you got Google's ad network to go out to the rest of the web.
Right.
And they make, I wonder what the percentage is now. The majority comes from off of Google sites, I think. But it's a 50-50? Or
I think I believe the majority still comes from on Google.
On Google, yeah. But that all of those people running AdSense off their sites, that's your responsibility. So so half of their revenue, half of their billions of dollars a year, you're responsible for.
So we were doing this for Overture.
Yeah.
And Google was at the same time, after we announced some of our big partnerships, like USA Today, for example, was one of Applied Semantics' early customers for AdSense. Yeah. We had some others. They were also secretly working on some of their own technologies.
Sure.
And so when they acquired us, it was really the opportunity to expand dramatically, to take advantage of what we had learned from the market, to put our engineering teams together. And they did have something going on. Yeah. And there are other people that rightfully consider themselves
very humble of you. But
I
mean, Tyler, name another acquisition by Google that would be as important as this one. I mean, you go down the list. I can't think of one.
The size-wise, DoubleClick is their.
I guess you could say DoubleClick on a size basis. I mean, so their top 3 acquisitions: Applied Semantics, DoubleClick, and YouTube. Would you agree with that?
I have to. They
definitely in the top 5 in terms of impact. It's got to be the top 5. So humble. So why go back to work after this? I mean, you still a company pre-IPO, Google shares. You must have done fairly well.
I'm just addicted to this roller coaster. I'm addicted to the excitement of having an idea that most people actually think doesn't make sense. Because that's when I know that I might be onto something huge.
Right.
Because if everybody agrees, you're definitely not onto anything huge. You might be onto something smart and something that'll make a lot of money.
But not groundbreaking.
Not groundbreaking, and that's really, I think, where the fun is.
And 3 years ago, saying you're going to make a database company for open source database, people just looked at you and said, "What's that?"
Yeah.
Did you try to raise money at that time?
No,
or talk to people?
No, I think no. First of all, I didn't like the idea of raising money based on PowerPoints. So we spent a couple years building up the technology. It was end of 2009, after we launched, to a reasonable amount of attention, that I went out and got a list of who's who of angels to get involved, and I'm really happy about some of the people. Danny Reimer being one of them.
Great.
Andreessen Horowitz was involved, and other great people like Martin Mikos, the CEO of MySQL.
Wow.
Just all these terrific people.
Awesome. Good group. If you have a question for Gil, you can ask it in the Ustream chat room and put a Q and then a colon. And you can also use #twist, correct, Tyler? Any questions there?
Yes. So a couple of the guys were asking Domain Noob and Ranbaz for examples that you feel are like some compelling examples of how people are using the data in Factual.
Yeah. What's the most compelling example right now, in your mind?
We launched back, it was October of 2009, and what we quickly learned is, in a sense, we had too much data. We had these hundreds of thousands of tables, and we weren't really doing a good job of surfacing the best data. So what we've since done, if you go to our homepage, the first link that you'll see that we highlight is local. So this is some of the data that not only have we heard is in demand, but we've actually taken extra time to QA the data, to improve it using additional layers of cleaning. And so this is the data that people are pretty excited about. We've announced some partnerships, like Facebook Places uses the data for certain countries.
Great.
An interesting SoCal company is Home Junction that has a cool way of showing all the businesses near you when you're looking to buy a house. You know, you might want to know if there's nearby coffee houses or
dry cleaning,
cleaners,
music,
right?
Strip joints. Well, if you want to pick where you don't want to live.
Yeah.
Okay, if you go in there and it's like, hey, how many marijuana dispensaries here in LA?
Yeah.
It might be a good decision for or against.
I got to check our taxonomy and see if we have categories for that.
You must have dispensaries in there.
We have tables.
I live in Brentwood, and I'm on the board of the Brentwood Homeowners Association. Where do you live in LA? You live in Brentwood?
I'm on the west side.
West side, okay. Yeah. So I live in Brentwood,
and
I'm on the Homeowners Association. And so I go to a meeting, and the big topic is, should they allow a marijuana dispensary? And I'm like, well, I'm not like a stoner, but I mean, it's obviously good medical use. So I said, like, yeah, I think this is a great idea. You know, sure, fine, as long as it's not like near the school or whatever. Everybody goes crazy. We can't have a dispensary here, but they're all pro legalization, but they don't want a dispensary in their area. It's just very interesting local politics.
Yeah, all we're trying to do is service the data so you can find whatever it is that you.
What is Factual's actual position on marijuana consumption and dispensaries? Oh wait, I found it right here on the website. Any other questions, Tyler?
Where he says, what lessons did you apply from Applied Semantics to Factual?
Yes, an applied question about applied.
That's a good question. Let's see.
Think about that for a second.
Yeah, think about that, because
what was your biggest mistake there too?
there were a lot of mistakes.
Yeah. Which one stands out? What's the one that you just thought of that stands out that you're just too embarrassed to say? What's the most embarrassing one that makes you feel like, God, I was an idiot?
You know, I think the difficult thing for a first-time entrepreneur is that you meet a lot of intelligent people, and they all have a huge amount of advice. And it's very difficult to assimilate it all, especially because a lot of that advice comes in conflict with each other. And so figuring out how to apply that advice to your own context is challenging. And so I think finding I think the mistake was not just silencing the voices from around us and just choosing maybe a small cohort of advisors, but mostly just believing in ourselves and picking a direction and going after it.
And is that because if you try too many things and you spend too much time in committee, you wind up not building anything, or you build slower, or it's a focus issue? Because it seems to me there's so many ways to skin the cat, as they say. I mean, that really is the issue, right? I mean, you could get from point A to point B 10 different ways. Right. And so, like you said, you could get 10 pieces of correct advice, but not take any of them seriously enough.
There's that old adage about a car built by committee, and it has big wheels, but it sips gas, and that it just ends up not being for anyone.
Right.
So really, it's the people within the company that really understand who their target demographic is, and they're learning that over time. And a lot of times it takes a while, especially if it's an emerging market. But you really have to trust that you have a sense of your customer and what they're going to want.
I saw an interesting question come up in the chat room from Beer Kid, very serious entrepreneur out of Boston. He says, "Am I liable for using a data set that a Factual user stole, in quotes, from a website?" So if somebody were to upload to your site, I don't know, IMDb, or I don't know, they scrape some site. What happens in terms of liability? How does that work? Are you indemnifying people? Are you checking these data sets and the legality? How does that work?
Right, so if somebody uploads, we have at the top of our site an upload button. So a little bit like a YouTube, you can upload good data that you have so that it can be shared with the community. And we have some tools to even further improve that. The same way that with YouTube, you can maybe use their automatic captioning technologies to improve your video. So back to your question, if somebody uses, well, first of all, if a data set does have copyrighted information, we abide by DMCA rules. They can
take it down.
Let us know, and we'll take it down.
Of course.
Now, if in the meantime somebody used this data, if it does have copyrighted information, then there could be a copyright claim. But
so if you go grab data off the web from a place that you know is an open platform, well, I mean, what is that? It's a Latin term, caveat, like buyer beware. Like if you're getting stuff that you don't know the author of, I mean, it's you have to do a little research.
But we try to steer clear of anything copyright in the sense that we're called factual. Almost all the data you'll find in any table is not creative expression. It's factual nuggets. So that's why there haven't been any complaints yet. There haven't been any cases that I'm aware of.
Yeah. Let's do an Ask Jason. But before we do that, let's talk about Mailchimp. Mailchimp has been awesome for me to send out the launch newsletter, and it's free to sign up. You can send up to 1,000 subscribers, absolutely free. That means like 95% of people who want to use Mailchimp don't have to pay. This is a really smart idea. Oh, here, somebody told me the word. Caveat emptor. Caveat emptor. What does it mean exactly? Caveat emptor. It means something. Anyway, Mailchimp has just announced that they have a $1 million integration fund. What this means is they will, like a Y Combinator, give you money or prizes. No, money. It's not a prize. They'll just give you the money straight up to go build something with their API. Speaking of API, speaking of data, maybe you could find something on Factual, some data, and then make something with an email product with it. That would be a good idea. I can think of one right now. Anytime the data on Factual for a restaurant in my community changes, it sends an email to that list, and you can sign up in that list for any zip code. And any new piece of data that comes from Factual will then be emailed to the person who signed up for that list. That is a genius idea. And you could build that right now, and I bet you they would give you MailChimp $25,000, $50,000. Just play them this clip. So if somebody out there wants to build this integration between Factual and MailChimp, I bet you they could do it, and MailChimp would actually pay you to do it. They're now accepting applications from anyone interested in building an integration on the MailChimp platform. If somebody wants to build a MailChimp thing for Chrome, make it faster in Chrome and for me to see statistics and something like an extension, that would be kind of cool too. Like I'm on a website, I see how many email subscribers I have from that website. That would be a great product. Thank you to MailChimp for sponsoring This Week in Startups and Independent Media Everywhere. If you would like to win this very cool bag, just say thank you at MailChimp on Twitter. These guys are awesome for sponsoring the show. And thank you to GoToMeeting as well for sponsoring the show. And we like to take a little question from the audience. We have a caller on the line. Your name is? Caller, are you there?
Yep.
Yes.
Jason DeMont.
Oh, there you are. Hey, Jason, you're calling from the 415, which I will instantly recognize as the San Francisco Bay Area.
You are correct.
You are correct, sir. You have a question for us. I see here you're on the set of Blade Runner.
Yeah, I got the blinds and the sun not so good right now.
Wow. Okay, so from your mom's basement, you have a question for us for This Week in Startups. Let's hear it.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. Long-time listener.
Yeah.
So I'm the co-founder of a travel website, unanchor.com, and Unanchor is a marketplace of self-guided tour itineraries. So the problem we're currently struggling with is a chicken and egg marketplace problem. We need itinerary writers to attract travelers, and we need travelers to attract itinerary writers. So keeping in mind that we're a bootstrap company, how would you guys recommend trying to solve this problem?
This is a great question. You have a good idea. I see on your website, which is, I would say, designed fairly well, tour itineraries. And I've always wanted these tour itineraries. I got to tell you, I'm always looking for this. When I go to a town, I just want something simple to tell me, listen, you're in Munich, go see these 10 things if you have, whatever, a day. And so right now, I can tell you I'm interested in it, and I love the way you're saying here, a typical guided tour is $175, and we're going to only charge $499. The value proposition is clear. I think on a business level, you've got a great idea. Now, the problem you have is how do you get these people? You haven't figured out how to convert people to pay this amount of money. And I think freemium would be how most people would say you should do this, which is give away the first couple of tours for free. They could download and then maybe they give you their email address and they can download one for free, and then you upsell them on a fuller tour. Or maybe you give them the first half of the tour, and if they like it, you say, hey, listen, we gave you the first 5 spots on the tour. After the jump, the next 15 spots, you can help by paying this tour guide $5. Something like that, a freemium model I would encourage you to look at. Another idea is, if you know how to use a conversion funnel. You can look that up, and you can hire somebody maybe like Trada to do SEM, search engine marketing for you. You might be able to, when somebody types in tour of Barcelona, be able to get those folks over to your site for 25 cents. And if you bring 10 people over, it costs you $2.50, and one of those converts, now you've made a 50% margin. Have you tried that yet, SEM stuff?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Actually, I did contact Trada. They need a bigger budget, but yeah.
So so then finally, SEO is a great friend of small businesses. If you have a lot of structured pages, and if I type the word site, unanchor.com into Google, how many pages am I going to find? I find that you have, let's see, I think I have to do the search tools here. Bear with me. In the last year, you have, why doesn't it show how many pages you have anytime? 53 results. You only have 53 results in Google? There's your problem. You have so much stuff behind the paywall and not enough public. You need to have 5,000 tours and very niche ones, long tail ones that you can rank for. And you're in a space where it's going to be really hard, but you have to find some piece that you can own, like art tours or architecture tours, city name. Find one that you can do really well, give away a third for free, get the SEO funnel going, experiment with SEM, and then upsell on the 2/3. Gil, you heard this whole conversation, some of my advice. What do you think?
Yeah, great advice in terms of cracking the consumer opportunity and trying to get in their face. But I think the other half of the question was, how do you get itinerary publishers to publish new itineraries?
Yeah, so, how do you motivate your Cressos people?
Right.
Yes.
So I'm not sure exactly the model in terms of, are they getting paid? Is it a revenue share? But you need to do something to celebrate the itinerary writers. And then it's just... And then,
I like that piece. Celebrate. Let's focus on that for a second. Celebrate the itinerary writers. And I'm looking at your website. I don't even see one. Why don't you put a picture up there? That's a great suggestion. Go ahead, keep going, Gil.
It could be prizes. You could give them some sort of points.
Yes.
Virtual currency to
currency.
Make people feel appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's another one that's the other side of the puzzle, because if you figure out what their main driver is, I actually think, and this is going to sound counterintuitive, that the paid tour operators could be your best friends here. Paid tour operator might want to put the tour up there for free, just for credit, and the ability to, if you want to take this tour with us, here's a special price for you. So actually, I would look at the freemium funnel as you get people into the free version, and then you upsell them on actually taking a guided tour. It's not one versus the other. I might want to buy this tour from you and listen to it on the plane, or do it when I'm on to see one or two sites. But then, hey, who wrote this tour? This is great. I would actually like to go with them. So at the end, you could say, on the tour, we also provide a glass of wine at each of the different places, and we have dinner with the owner of the restaurant, whatever. And those are the things. So a lot, it's sort of like, people buy a DVD or a Blu-ray. Why would you buy the Blu-ray if you can watch it on cable? So many other options. Well, some people want to own that. They want that experience. There's some people who always want to go on the tour. So you could be the directory of all tours. Think bigger. Think, I'm going to make the Wikipedia of tours. That, I think, would be how Gil, what would Gil do? Ask yourself, WWGD. Not what would God do. What would Gil do? You'd make the Wikipedia.
It is a great model, and it's an exciting opportunity to help people. Because there's a lot of money spent. And especially in LA. LA is an example of a city that's not easy to navigate. When you get here, you don't know where to go.
You look at this. You angel invest, correct? You look at this. Is this the kind of thing where you'd say, I would take a meeting with that guy?
I would take a meeting, especially if that he's shown that he's working really hard to get some good content up already. I'd be interested in finding out what content's already up.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got a winner here, pal. Yeah. You got my attention. You got Tyler. What are your thoughts?
It's not a space that tickles my fancy. It's because it's like just a human interest problem.
Yeah.
It's a simple. This problem's simple. The answer is simple. It's just a race of. It's like a business development and marketing race.
You can't see the uniqueness to it? Is that what you're saying?
No, I know people who have... I guess the real question is why... people have been in this space before and tried it. No one's really kind of knocked it out of the park yet.
Why?
Yeah, why?
Yeah, I mean, when your research, have you figured out why nobody's ever made this into a, About.com, Wikipedia, Yelp of tours. Why doesn't the Yelp of tours exist? Or does it?
I have not found a Yelp of tours. I think the key for the site is that it's self-guided too. It's about people wanting to find out the information that they need and then be able to do it on their own. And so that's more of the approach that we've been taking, not so much indexing all tours that are currently out there.
Have you seen the in Gowalla that they have trips in Gowalla? Full disclosure, I'm an angel investor. Have you seen that? The trips that they set up?
No, I have not seen that.
In Gowalla, you can set up a trip where you have to do 5 stops. Looking at this, I would make it so that it's free, and then I would create a standard. You know how there's like what do they call the data standard for your contact information?
Your H card.
H card or something like that, right? It is XML, whatever. I would create a standard. This is where you start to think big and be a leader in the industry. I would create a standard for tours, and it would be like, okay, the location, the name of the place, the hours of operation, where to take a picture, summary, whatever. And you make that open standard, right? And then you make that standard available to people like Gowalla or Foursquare or other places. And now you become like this thought leader in the space that you have the semantic way to organize this information. Let anybody build it on here and let anybody publish it themselves and let them embed it on their site. So you become, for tour operators, this way of semantically organizing their tour and sharing it with the world with an embed tool or putting it onto an iPhone. And then if you had an iPhone app or you used your API to allow it to hit the Google API for Maps, wow, you got something going. But of course, this takes money and time, and it seems like you have more time than money. So
that's true.
Which is, hey, that's actually what angel investors are looking for. And so, yeah, I think we're all inspired by what you're doing. What do we think of the name, by the way, guys? Unanchor.
Yeah, it works for me. It's visual.
I didn't like it at first, and now I'm kind of liking it a little bit more.
I get the idea. You're moving.
Unanchor.
You're mobile. You're moving around.
Yeah, it's almost like this would. You got sometimes you have to have like a literal and sometimes a suggestive name. Factual. It's pretty straightforward what that site's going to be about. Facts. Tourable might be a better name. Tourster. That's a bad name. Anyway. We like what you're doing. I think you should get a plan together, and I think you should apply to the Open Angel Forum. And you know how to do that. You just email Tyler at mahalo.com, and he will handle it.
Thank you.
Good question, Jason. Thank you for calling into the show. Great question. I think we helped the guy a little bit. Hopefully we inspired him a little bit. And I think that he could build a big business out of it, just like DNA Mail has built a big business out of helping you succeed in business by moving your mail to the cloud. It's a pretty good segue, right?
Mail to the cloud.
That's
Absolutely.
it. Move your mail to the cloud with DNA. Use Google Apps or Microsoft Exchange on their hosted email services platform. It's free activation. It's free setup. It's free 24-hour support right here in Los Angeles for people that care. 99.9% uptime guarantee. Don't let your business suffer from subpar communications. Sign up today and take advantage of, again, a 30-day free trial. These guys have been a sponsor, longest running sponsor on the network, longest running sponsor on This Week in Startups. DNA Mail. Everybody loves DNA Mail. Go ahead and and so many people tweet me out. Always tweet me when you have, if you tweet me that you are using the service now, you bought a .co domain, you're using Trada, you've smartened up and you're using a DNA Mail for your exchange hosting instead of doing it yourself, just tweet me at Jason and I will retweet it. I do it every time because the sponsors love to see that you heard about us, that you heard about them on This Week in Startups. Somebody do it right now. If you're listening to this on the podcast or you're listening to it live, you can enter the contest to win this This Week in Startups bag. Just thank at DNA Mail. Thank you at DNA Mail. And if you want to tweet each one, you get entered into the contest 3 times. So thank at DNA Mail, thank at GoToMeeting, thank at Mailchimp for sponsoring the program. Gil, you sitting for the news?
Am I sitting for the news? Yeah. I'll stick around.
Stick around for the news. Let's do the news. Mike Bracco, you're here with us to do the news because Kathy is not here.
She's out CES, having fun.
She's at CES?
Yeah.
Wait, didn't last week I go on a whole rant
Yes.
that CES was a complete waste of time, that there's no cabs, you get sick, and all you do is party?
Yeah.
She works for me.
But I think she drove out there in light of your comment about the
She's
cabs.
driving there with her car.
Yes, so that she doesn't have to wait in the cab lines.
Oh, so now she's going to be in the valet line with the other, like, 400 people?
No, she's going to park in the garages and drive.
Yeah, that's the valet line. What are the garages? Oh, the garages are a little bit faster, right? But it's still a boondoggle. Is she going there on behalf of Mahalo? Oh, she better come back with some business, because I hate... Hey, she better not come back sick. If she's sick next week, she will never hear the end of it. She comes to this office. Okay, let's hear the first story.
All right, first story. Big news story this week was Quickening acquired by Skype. Yesterday it was announced that Skype entered into an agreement to acquire mobile video streaming startup Quick for $150 million. Quick, which was founded in 2006, is the leader in live video streaming technology over wireless networks and has over 5 million users. Much of Quick's recent success is the result of striking deals with carriers and the mobile phone manufacturers to get pre-installed. So what do you think about this acquisition, and specifically live video streaming from mobile devices, which hasn't necessarily caught on with the mainstream this far?
It absolutely has not caught on with the mainstream yet. And I've been using Quick for 3 years or 4 years that this company's been out. It's always been a little bit buggy, but it's getting more and more stable. And when the 4G networks become more available, it'll become more stable. And I guess this is a way for Skype, which is going to have a... Did they IPO yet, or they're filed for IPO? Anyway, they're going to do a huge IPO. This is a way for them to get a team that knows how to do mobile video, so that on the next generation of Android phones or whatever, you log into Skype, you do video. We've got a lot of expertise there. It's a product that would be worth paying for as a Skype user. If they said, hey, the Skype video application costs X amount, you would pay for it, or if you had to pay some reasonable amount to do it. So I think it's a smart acquisition.
It would also allow you to record all of your face-to-face Skype calls, because that's what they do, is they record them all.
I'm shocked by the number, 150 million. I don't think they have more than 30 or 40 employees at that company.
I think it's 60.
60? Yeah, so it's a small company. But I think they have a lot of registrations because of this couple million registrations over the time.
Yeah,
so
the huge boost recently they mentioned just this past year, just because of their relationships they're establishing with carriers and such.
Yeah, I mean, put it this way, if I was one of these mobile applications and I raised $20 million, I would spend $10 million of it buying carriage on Verizon. I don't know if those people charge for that kind of, or they do something, but I would be like, hey, listen, every person you put it on that signs up, I'll give you $1, I'll give you $2, and move yourself up to the top. I mean, I know it's ransom, I know it's anti-internet to sort of buy distribution instead of earn it, but that's the name of the game. And you can see when you have a big exit like this, that $10 million they invested in, or whatever they invested in buying that distribution, and I bet they bought it, was worth it. Any thoughts?
No, it's good advice. Good thoughts.
Yeah. Tyler?
I think it's a good move for kind of both. I think Skype's smart to kind of lead up to it. And to Quick's credit, I think they got into that space before anyone else. They were early into it. 4G wasn't ready yet. Now that 4G's on the horizon. Yeah.
So again, being early, when Quick came out, everybody made fun of it. It doesn't work. It's like you're watching Robert Scoble. Robert Scoble's like, I love this. And it's like, then it crashes.
Right.
I mean, that's basically 95% of the first year of Quick's life was Robert Scoble with his Nokia N94, 95, interviewing somebody for 30 seconds, of which you could discern 7. Now it's actually become quite stable.
Yeah, I mean, you thought FaceTime maybe was going to sort of bring this to the forefront, but even with FaceTime and Apple, it doesn't seem to have really caught on yet.
It hasn't caught on. It's a little, even for an Apple product, it feels a little kludgy. Apple products are usually so smooth. But I tell you, my daughter recognizes me on it now, and so I love it. I actually took a screenshot of my daughter talking to me, and I emailed it to Steve Jobs and said, you're a genius. 12 months old, she recognized me. I was like, really? Actually, he made the video phone happen.
Yeah, those commercials are pretty emotional.
I just started using FaceTime, but Skype available on 3G, that's pretty exciting too.
Yeah. Carriers must be like, oh my God. I mean, it's just going to be a data plan. I mean, basically, the carriers are just going to be like, give us $100 a month, you can do whatever you want. Next story.
Next story. So, $50 billion story. Facebook this week, it was announced that Goldman Sachs and Digital Sky Technologies invested $500 million in total in Facebook, putting their valuation at $50 billion. Just for some perspective, Yahoo's at $22 billion, Google at $193, and Groupon recently at $5 billion.
Yeah.
So what do you think about this $50 billion valuation? Is that crazy? Or is the fact that 1 in every 4 page views now in the US is from Facebook make it make sense?
Here's the way I would look at it. Facebook made $2 billion this year, or this past year. They probably under monetized by 50% or So, I mean, they could double the amount of advertising and double the monetization, which means it could have been $4 billion if they weren't so anti-advertising. If they did one interstitial like anybody else does when you log in or something, or every 10th login, they could do a lot. The value, it's probably the true valuation of Facebook is probably 20 billion, 25 billion. So what you're doing is they went to Goldman Sachs in order to get their rich clients into this deal, said we will get you into the IPO a year and a half early or a year early, but you're going to pay the IPO price. Because when it IPOs, it's going to double or triple, which is quite possible. However, and the chances of Facebook failing at this point are 1%. Facebook is just so pervasive that even if they screwed everything up and it was down for an hour a day, it would take years for it to come crashing back down. Just like MySpace still has 60 million people. As many errors as was made with MySpace, still has 60 million people a month. It's down from 90, I think, in the US, but it's still very significant. So it is a bubble. You will, if you buy at the $50 billion price and hold for 4 or 5 years, you'll in all likelihood double your money. Which, when you think about it, most people double their money every 7 years with investments, is a little bit faster. It's outrageous. Goldman Sachs, their own partners with their fund, passed on investing in it. That's not a good sign. But the public will eat it up, and there is self-fulfilling prophecy. If you raise enough money, you will figure it out. And so there's momentum. It's a momentum. It would be a momentum stock buy in my mind. But so would Google. And people say Google wasn't worth $150 a share. I think it went out at 90. What did it go out at, 90?
The day it opened, it was like at 100. Yeah.
100.
It closed at 100. Yeah.
Closed at 100. People said, "Oh my God, that's ridiculous." People went crazy. Now it's at $600. You know how many shares Gil owns? It's unbelievable. He made more after the IPO than he did before it. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, it was interesting to hear. I mean, I agree with a lot of your analysis. It's interesting to hear that you think that it's going to double or triple right after the IPO. It seems like these large companies are getting better at pricing it correctly, so it doesn't jump so much. You want it to jump a little bit, because if it's jumping too much, you've undersold.
Yeah. So when I say after, year or two after.
Right. Okay.
So maybe not the day.
Right.
The day it will go up 50%.
Right.
But I mean, look at Tesla. They went from 17, Elon's company, to 35 in a couple of months. They came back down. They went back up. Right. Still trading at $28, $29. So.
Yeah. There's a lot of value in that platform. There's just so many other companies building value on top of it.
Yep.
It's a good position to be in.
Would you buy at that price, $50 billion? Or did you buy at that price? Let me ask that question.
Did I? Not yet.
But you are a private Goldman Sachs client, correct? So you've been offered.
I've been offered. I'm thinking about it.
You're thinking about it. You better think quick, because there's a lot of donkeys who just, the second they heard the word Facebook, sent $1 million. You don't want to be the last guy in. It's going to go up to, and the other thing is you're paying a 5% placement fee. 5% placement fee. I think it puts the real value at like 60 billion or something like that. I was reading something like that, because there's some other costs associated with it. Anyway, congratulations to them. I mean, they've built an incredible business. Nobody would deny them that. Even if you disagree with how they built it and some of the nuances with privacy, which I obviously disagree with how they did it, but it still is a great product, and they've done incredibly well. Any other entrepreneur that gets rich and gets rewarded for building something that epic. I mean, he'll be the first person to 1 billion people. I mean, Google's they got 800 million worldwide, I think, and Facebook has 600. It'd be interesting to see who gets to 1 billion first. The march to 1 billion. No, what service in the world ever reached 1 billion people? Coca-Cola?
And who's going to capitalize on the next 4 billion smartphone users that come online in the next 5 to 8 years?
No doubt. Okay, one more story. Just one more. Tyler, did you buy, Tyler?
Facebook?
Yeah.
No.
You told your Goldman private wealth person you wouldn't do it? No. What does your money manager think about all this expense on shirts? Look at this shirt here, the blue shirt. Let's see it.
They like it.
They like it? Why?
Yeah,
it's only $100?
Less, $75.
And what is the slogan on that? What's the inside on that shirt?
The inside on this one is like giving flowers to a nun.
Inside from Tyler.
Like giving flowers to a nun. It's a great one.
And you said there should be a shirt made for that. Well, now there is.
And now there is a shirt made for that.
But the real power of your own shirt here
Yeah.
is actually the pickup scenario. This is the real insight here is when you're at a bar and you're talking to a girl and she's like, "Oh, nice shirt," and she's like, "Where'd you get your shirt?" And you're like, "Oh,
I designed it.
designed it myself."
Wow.
Like you can say, oh, it's a Gucci, oh, it's a this or whatever. The best answer is I designed it myself. Like, and all of a sudden, it's a whole new game changer.
It's like designing your own shirt at the club.
Yes.
Insight from Tyler.
To phrase your insight,
Yes.
basically.
Yeah.
If you design your own shirt, girls are going
Yes.
to talk to you.
It's better that better than anybody.
And they look at the writing on the shirt.
all of a sudden they want to check you out. They're like, oh, how'd you know?
Oh, I see. The physical proximity as
Oh,
well.
oh yeah, they want to get in your collar and see the label and all that stuff.
Look at this.
Yeah.
Did you write the game? The book, The Game? Was that yours?
No.
All right. Final story.
Final story. So
And the final story is not Tyler's custom shirts.
not Tyler shirts.
I mean, I wear a custom shirt too, but it's very
No, but
subtle. I
if-
put the little JMC there and white on white.
We gotta get you hooked up with blank.
Gil's
label,
wearing a
so
Prada shirt.
Jason can get
Beautiful.
some
Is that
game.
right? I don't think
It's
so.
like Armani, Prada. Gorgeous.
We'll have to check the tag
We'll
later.
check the tag later. Last story.
All right,
please.
last story. So-
Gil's a very important guy. He's got a lot of
some
meetings
next
this
post.
afternoon.
So yesterday, Apple officially unveiled its Mac App Store. The store, which debuted with 1,000 free and pay apps, is available to Snow Leopard users via software update. It exists as a separate app outside of iTunes, and like Apple's iPad and iPhone store, Apple takes 30% cut from all sales. Some of the headline apps to launch are Angry Birds,
Yeah, sure.
the new Twitter official client. So what impact do you think this store will have, and will Apple be able to replicate its success on iPhone and iPad with the desktop?
All right. Number one, I predicted this 4 years ago on This Week in Tech, I believe. Somebody's got to pull that up. But I said Steve Jobs is going to take, obviously, there was a big question, would the iPad run OS, operating system from the phone OS, iOS, or would it run Mac OS? I would rather my tablet run the Mac OS so I could, use any piece of software I want. But no, he had to make it closed. Soviet, communist, socialist software. Communist. Then I said it's only a matter of time before he brings it to the desktop and starts taking over the desktop. And the freedom that you experience on your desktop, that you can load whatever software, whatever you want, will go away. And that's the first step here. We are only 24 months away from a release of an OS 11 in which all software must go through the App Store. And when that happens, all software must go to the App Store, he will have put a 30% tax on every piece of software run on his system. And right now there is a 0% tax. And there'll be nothing developers can do about it. Just like there's nothing developers can do about paying that tax on his platforms. On
How are
Android,
they going to stop you from downloading stuff to your browser, though?
you can still download your browser, but if you want to, it'll be, because they have distribution, he's created distribution and limited distribution at the same time. On Android or on the iPhone, you could jailbreak it and unload a jailbroken store, but nobody's going to do it. So by using technical obscurification, he's basically made it. Is de facto, he's taken over your desktop. It's awesome for simplicity. My dad's computer will run better. My mom's computer will run better. Your cousin, your aunt, but it is a disturbing trend in terms of personal freedom that computers and the internet represent. And I think that Steve Jobs might be overplaying his hand. That being said, I loaded it immediately yesterday and downloaded 5 applications, including I spent $99 for OmniGraffle, which I wouldn't have ever bought. I literally would never have bought, but I typed the word wireframes because I was making a wireframe for Mahalo 4 yesterday, and I was going to use it in Balsamic. And I said, I wonder if there's any wireframing software here. It's $99, fuck it. Oh. Did it again.
Yes.
1:03, 20 seconds. You have to cut out the F-bomb. But I was like, F it. So $99. Boom. And you know what? Think about that. Apple made $30 for nothing. For doing nothing. The margin on that $30 is $29.90 if you pay 10% for the download costs and the, running the store. What do you think about this App Store?
I mean, it's brilliant how he set the ground rules early with the iPad and the iPhone and has managed to charge this tax. It's working. I wouldn't have predicted that. You'd think there's a little more likely chance the developers rebel in a space that they're not used to having to pay that tax. But I don't have the best sense of it.
Yeah, I mean, on the phone market, there was no marketplace. So introducing it there was like, well, nothing's ever existed.
Yeah, it's a whole new, brand new market.
Yeah, but on the desktop, I mean, if you're Microsoft Word, do you want to give 30%? I mean, if he makes it so you can only load Microsoft Word through the App Store, which is totally conceivable, 30% of Microsoft's profit? I mean, what is that going to do for big software? That may be their entire margin right now. The entire margin of the software industry might be 30%, 40% for desktop applications, and he's going to take it? I mean, it's robbery. I mean, it really is. If he locks that down, like I think he's going to, and he already sort of has,
The
because
way that he locks that down is he removes disks from devices, which you already started doing with
there's none on the MacBook Air.
So you can't
So de
install-
facto, you can't load stuff.
Right.
I mean, although most people download applications over through the browser,
Right.
they download an executable.
Right.
But at some point, he'll take the iOS and the Mac OS and make it more iOS-like and more locked down, and he will justify it by saying, we want to provide a seamless user experience, which is code for, we want to make a lot of money by controlling, just like he picks what's in the store, he picks who gets, I mean, if you want to make an adapter for your iPhone, right? The iPhone's got this, what do they call the iPhone adapter? That little thing on the bottom. That you have to license this. You can't just do this. I mean, you can, but you get sued. He stopped people from creating certain devices for this. If you try to do something like hook this up to another one or whatever, he won't let you make it, and he'll sue you, get rid of it. So anyway,
So is it that different than sort of what Google is doing with Chrome OS and their App Store? I mean, certainly it's a different scenario, but
I don't know. It depends on what they're charging.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anybody would say a fee is outrageous, but what is the fee? If it's under 10% or under, it's a stocking fee. It's no big deal. But when you start getting to 30%, I mean, it's price gouging for a digital asset. And movie. You want to put a movie on your computer. You want to put software on your computer. You want to put a game on your computer. It all has to go through Apple. And Apple becomes the censor then. I mean, not only does Apple censor what software you put on your phone, now Apple's going to decide, you know what, maybe we don't want Chrome on your desktop. Maybe you can only use Safari.
A lot of cash to be made. On the other hand, maybe it's a great opening for Google to push this idea that apps are built for web on HTML5, and it's not as much about the apps, or maybe it's a new opening for Microsoft to reinvent itself.
Yeah, it's a good point. It really does point to HTML5 as being, and this is what Google said when, remember, Apple would not let Google, what was the Google Voice? They wouldn't let on it was Google Voice.
Google Voice.
They wouldn't let Google Voice on the iPhone, and it was like, so if you want to look for bad behavior on the part of Apple, I mean, you don't have to look too far. They blocked any other browser. They blocked any other competitive voice. They blocked anything to manage photos. They'll block anything to manage MP3s. Why wouldn't they do that on the desktop? And that means you never get high on your own supply. You never overplay your hand. And what Apple is doing, I fear, is they're overplaying their hand. And when you overplay your hand, as Gil is sort of saying, it creates an opportunity for somebody else to be less nefarious than you are. Never get high on your own supply. Rule number 13, Scarface. Correct?
I don't remember that line, but I think
Never get high on your own supply? Essentially what Scarface is saying is that if you have a large amount of cocaine to sell, do not snort that cocaine.
Okay, I get it. That
I mean,
makes sense.
I'm breaking it
That
down.
makes sense.
Yeah. Gosh, Gil, thanks for being on the program. You're very honest as an entrepreneur. Right. Continued success, factual. It's another home run. I predict $1 billion. It's a $1 billion company in 5 years, and I missed the angel round. I'm not complaining, but
I am an Al Pacino fan.
You are an Al Pacino fan. You will confirm. You will confirm.
I will confirm that.
Yes. Okay. I'm a little bummed I missed the angel round, but what are you going to do? Thank you, GoToMeeting. Thank you at Mailchimp. Thank you at DNA Mail. Everybody go follow those guys and thank them. And if you're a developer, just go over to factual.com and try to make something and then give them feedback. And if somebody was a great developer and they wanted to work for an awesome visionary like yourself, they would just email Gil at Factual, I'm guessing.
Gil at factual.com.
It works.
Yeah, we got great space. Come by and visit. Check it out.
Great culture, tons of money in them. Did you bring lunch in every day? You got a chef? What's the story?
We have a lot of fun stuff in the office. Cool kitchen.
Cool kitchen?
An amazing picture. You should see the wall-sized mural we have that really livens up the place. You have to come by to see it, though.
I will come by. Come by. If you are a developer, go work at Factual, and you will get stock options in what I predict will be a $1 billion company, and they're very generous with those. We'll see everybody. Thank you for doing the news. Yep. Tyler, thank you for the insights and the wonderful shirt. Thank you for not wearing red buttons on a blue shirt.
Well, no, I specifically did one that
You toned it down a little bit.
toned it down for you.
Yeah, I mean,
That's the beauty of
red buttons on blue.
Go blank label.
I'll go check out Black Label. Why? I mean, it's like you put a fourth advertiser on the show is not paying.
No.
They're paying you.
No, they're not paying me.
They're paying you in swag, free shirts.
That's smart on their part.
How do I wet my beak? I wear custom shirts. I don't have any. I don't wet my beak.
I can hook you up.
You get a taste. Nobody else. Where's Brocco? Look at Brocco. He's got this shirt since college.
Yeah, I know. I need some.
Brocco's suffering over here.
He's got to hook me up.
All right. Thank you, Gil, for being on the program. We'll see you
Thank
all
you
next
so
time
much.
on This Week in Startups.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah, money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah, we ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.